Hi friend, today I am making my grandmother's raisin bread. This is a soft, slightly sweet, enriched loaf with a classic cinnamon swirl. But more importantly, I am showing you exactly when and how to add raisins so the bread bakes evenly and slices cleanly every time. This recipe comes together easily, does not require a stand mixer, and as long as one key step isn't skipped, you can avoid the dryness that raisin bread is known for. Before I start the dough, I am going to take a third of a cup of raisins and cover them with water. This does two things. First, it prevents the raisins from pulling moisture out of the dough while the bread bakes, which is one of the main causes of dry raisin bread. Second, it cleans them. I have noticed that some brands of raisins can carry a little grit, and soaking them removes that. Set these aside to soak while we work on the dough. In a measuring cup, add a half cup of milk and heat it until it just begins to bubble. Scalding milk used to be important for food safety when milk was raw or minimally pasteurized. It was also thought to improve bread structure by changing how milk proteins interact with gluten. Today, most milk is already processed at high temperatures, so this step is not strictly necessary. I am sticking with my grandmother's method here because scalding makes it easier to melt the butter without overheating the mixture. While the milk is still very hot, add 2 to 3 tablespoons of butter and let it melt. I am using cold butter here, which helps cool the milk as it melts. Once the butter is melted, add a third of a cup of water. Use cold water if the mixture is still very hot, or warm water if it has cooled significantly. You are aiming for a final temperature of about 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, or 38 to 43 degrees Celsius. In your mixing bowl, add the yeast, either 2 teaspoons or 1 packet. Add the sugar, a lightly beaten egg, and the warm milk mixture. Temperature matters here. Yeast works best within a comfortable range, and that range can shift depending on how warm or cool your kitchen is. A warm kitchen benefits from slightly cooler liquids, while a cold kitchen benefits from warmer ones. Add about 2.5 cups of flour along with the salt and mix to combine. Add the remaining flour gradually, just until you have a soft, slightly tacky dough. If the dough feels sticky, add a little more flour, but go slowly. Too much flour at this stage can lead to a dry loaf, and it is easier to add flour later than to fix an overly dry dough. The exact amount will depend on your flour and the humidity in your kitchen. Use a bit of bowl kneading to bring the dough together, then turn it out onto the counter. As I knead, I add small amounts of flour only as needed to manage stickiness. Once the dough reaches the right texture, I knead for about 5 minutes to develop the gluten. I want the dough to be strong before adding the raisins, both so they don't tear through it or disintegrate on kneading. Now it is time to add the raisins. Drain them, rinse them briefly, and spread them onto a clean tea towel. Gently pat them dry. You do not need them completely dry. A few wet raisins are perfectly fine, and that moisture is the whole reason we soaked them in the first place. Flatten the dough slightly and spread the raisins evenly over the surface. Fold the dough over onto itself and gently work the raisins in. Instead of a traditional kneading motion, use more random folding and turning. This keeps the raisins from escaping and helps distribute them evenly. If raisins start to poke through, simply turn that section upward and fold more dough over it. This takes a little patience, but it makes a noticeable difference in the final loaf. Once the raisins are evenly distributed, round the dough into a ball and place it into a lightly greased bowl. Cover it with a damp tea towel and let it rise until doubled. Mine took just over an hour. When the dough has risen, it is time to prepare the cinnamon swirl. In a small bowl, mix 1/3 of a cup of sugar with 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. If your cinnamon has been sitting for a while, you might want to add a little extra for a stronger flavor. Turn the dough out and press it into a flat disc, then roll it into a long rectangle. The width should be close to the width of your loaf pan. Rolling it wider creates excess dough at the ends and can disrupt the swirl. Roll the dough thin enough to create visible layers, but not so thin that the raisins break through. Aim for about a 1/2 inch or 1 centimeter thickness. Brush about 2 teaspoons of milk over the surface of the dough. This helps the cinnamon sugar stick and also helps the dough seal to itself, which reduces the chances of the layers separating during baking. Sprinkle the cinnamon sugar evenly over the dough. Roll it up tightly, pulling slightly as you go to maintain tension. Place the loaf seam side down and gently press to seal. You can pinch the seam closed if needed. Lightly if necessary, then place the dough seam side down into your loaf pan. Cover again with a damp tea towel and let it rise until nearly doubled, about 1 hour. Before baking, brush the top with milk if you want a softer crust. Bake in a 350 Fahrenheit or 175 oven. I bake this loaf covered at first to prevent overbrowning, then uncover it for the last 10 to 15 minutes. Total baking time is about 45 minutes. The enriched dough browns easily, so keep an eye on the color. I test doneness with an internal thermometer and look for about 200 degrees Fahrenheit or about 95 degrees Celsius. Once the bread comes out of the oven, you can brush the top with butter for an even softer crust, or loosely wrap it in a barely damp tea towel while it cools. This raisin bread is soft, slices cleanly, and has evenly distributed raisins without any dryness or grit. It is great fresh, toasted, or spread with butter or cream cheese. You can slice as needed or slice the whole loaf and freeze it to preserve its freshness. If you are looking for another bread recipe, check out my French bread roll video. I also have a full playlist of bread recipes to keep you baking through the winter.